The courtroom doors swung open, and a hush fell over the room. Chris Brown entered with measured steps. No one expected him now, but he was driven by something deeper than public opinion. He climbed onto the witness stand, placed his hand on the mic, and began. "I wasn't going to say anything when you're young and famous. You think silence protects you, but I'm not here to play anymore." He spoke of control, of velvet-gripped power that suffocated artists. He recalled padded rooms in hidden mansions, people disappearing, families never knowing why. He remembered a 2009 private party, where he saw girls who looked scared and lonely, artists pushed beyond limits. He froze then, and now he broke that silence. He told of being groomed and then trapped, of deals tied to compliance, of mental exhaustion, pills, hidden recordings, and the constant, creeping fear that if he spoke up, everything would be taken away, his music, his reputation, even his sanity. "I was studied," he said. Every breakdown, every mistake, was being measured. His voice trembled as he recounted a voicemail from the accused. "You've got talent, but don't forget who opened those doors." The message resonated like a blackmail threat delivering quiet death. The courtroom absorbed it in stunned silence. He came not for headlines, but to destroy a system powered by fear. "I was afraid," he admitted. "I feared the man. I feared the system behind him. I feared the people who could make you vanish with one phone call." But a plea from Cassie Ventura, "If you don't speak, no one's safe," galvanized him. He spoke for Jaime Foxx, whose career collapsed for asking questions, for women dragged into private events, for artists coerced into silence. He named names, outlined hidden cameras, secret videos, threats masquerading as family. He ended with controlled fury. "You taught me to perform my trauma. But now, I'm telling you, I survived. You don't own us anymore." The courtroom remained silent. Not because of order, but under the weight of truth. He didn't wait for applause or cameras, didn't look back. He walked away free, having shed the burden of silence. Outside, reporters rushed in, headlines already blazing. "Chris Brown testifies. Fear, control, hidden recordings, secret cameras." But the moment wasn't about scandal. It was about liberation, one voice rising, many others empowered. He walked into a new day still wounded, but unbound. And behind him, a fortress of secrets began to crumble, brick by oppressive brick. The courtroom trembled as the judge called recess. Chris Brown remained seated, his shoulders tense, eyes fixed not on cameras but on the jury, their faces a canvas of shock and comprehension. He had spoken, raw and unfiltered, and now didn't need to look back. Behind him, the fortress began to crack. When court resumed, the silence persisted. The air was thick with gravity, no whispers, no rustling papers, only the weight of what had been said. The prosecutor's next approach was measured, deliberate. "Mr. Brown," she asked quietly, "is there anything else you need to tell the court?" Chris nodded, his voice low but unwavering. "I didn't come here for revenge," he said, "not for headlines. I came to give back what was stolen, the truth." He described how he kept text evidence of control, disguised as care. "Tough week, you're still my guy. We cleaned it up before. We can clean it again, but stay close." He had handed them over to the court, not out of spite, but for accountability. "I'm not perfect. I'm full of mistakes," he admitted, "but it was never just me affected. It was all of us who were silenced." He paused, looking around the room. Silence doesn't protect you, it strengthens them. This wasn't a moment for compromise. It was a reckoning. As he stepped down, the jury and gallery remained unmoving. Chris passed reporters in silence, no flurry of cameras, just respect. He had earned it. The prosecutor called again, but he shook his head. He was done. The truth had been spoken. He exited the courtroom, not as a celebrity, but as a survivor. Each step forward was weighed by years of entrapment. Every footfall marked a claim of freedom. Outside, a storm had erupted. Headlines blazed on screens: Chris Brown, secret cameras, control, trauma, truth. But it wasn't about drama anymore, it was about courage. Chris walked into the weight of cameras and flashing lights, unflinching. He didn't wave or speak to the mob. The narrative had already been shaped by his words. He didn't look back because he didn't need to, no longer tethered by fear, no longer owned by silence. And behind him, in that sealed courtroom, empires built on intimidation began to unravel, brick by brick, layered by hidden layer under the full light of truth. The courtroom sat suspended, caught in the stillness of a moment too vast to break. As Chris Brown stepped away from the witness stand, he carried with him years of hidden pain, yet he emerged, unbowed and unstoppable. In that silence, he had given voice not only to his own trauma but to countless unseen faces, each a casualty of a system built on power and secrecy. When he exited the courthouse, there were no victory laps, just the quiet confidence of someone who had reclaimed his story. Cameras flashed, microphones surged, but he walked forward without looking back. He didn't need validation anymore. His testimony had spoken volumes. Silence empowers abusers. Truth dismantles them. On the days that followed, the fallout was seismic. Newsrooms reeled. Social media ignited. Industry giants froze. Chris Brown reveals hidden camera exploitation, blackmail ring, read one headline. Survivor testimony rocks entertainment power structure, declared another. And beneath it all, a haunting undercurrent. No one is untouchable, no legacy immune to truth. Behind the courtroom walls, an empire of fear trembled. Behind the curtains of fame and mentorship, a deeper rot was laid bare. And out there, in the court of public reckoning, the message was clear. Protection from power comes not through silence. It's forged in vulnerability and spoken truths. Chris Brown's final words echoed long after the gallery emptied. This isn't about me. It's for those still trapped. Silence doesn't protect you, it empowers them. In that moment, an industry myth died not with a roar, but with the quiet, steady pulse of justice reclaimed. The courtroom held its breath as the doors swung open once more. A hush fell, all eyes turned toward a lone figure entering, JanetJackson.com, yet resolute, her presence demanding attention with no fanfare necessary. She didn't need to be called. She came because silence needed a voice, and only she could carry its weight. She walked straight to the stand, unflinching, placing her hand on the microphone. No introduction, no pleasantries, just truth waiting to be spoken. I've lived in the shadows of this system for far too long, she began, voice measured but fierce. They taught us that success meant secrecy, that power required compliance. She paused, scanning the courtroom, then continued. I came because those whispers, that fear, they stole my voice. It's time to get it back. She told of late-night phone calls from Diddy's team demanding song changes, appearance cancellations if she didn't toe the line, tactics so covert she only realized them in hindsight. Tales of stunt doubles flown in at the last minute, disguised as her, schooled to attend events she refused. They didn't just manipulate my schedule, she revealed. They manipulated my truth. She dropped notes, messages she'd preserved, terms like keep it contained, optics only, stay the course. Each message felt like chains, each demand a reminder of how much was at stake. Then she spoke of the toll, the identity, unraveling, mental health battles fought behind closed doors. I started losing my voice for real, she confessed, emotion surfacing in steady eyes. I forgot what authenticity sounded like. But she remembered. And that's why she was here. I'm not here for vindication, she said, voice unwavering. I'm here for every artist whose only crime was daring to be themselves. For every young girl who thought she was chosen, only to find out she was controlled. For every person who's still wondering if the real price of fame is losing your humanity. The gallery sat in stunned silence. Not a gasp, not a shuffle, just a shift of something primal, powerful. She had named what many felt, a system that thrived on invisibility and coerced compliance. And with her testimony, she shattered it piece by piece. She ended simply, no more compliance, no more invisibility. The voice of silence ends today. As she stepped down, the energy in the room transformed. What began with hushed disclosure now carried the force of collective reckoning. Words no longer anchored in fear, they soared in the light. Irreversible, authoritative. Outside, the press cameras flashed anew. Headlines turned. Janet Jackson speaks up, system of silence exposed. The story that began with whispered rumors had exploded into an unfiltered confrontation with power. Within the courtroom, every head nodded. Not in performance, but in a moment of recognition. The system was collapsing. Brick by brick, secret by secret. The silence had cracked. The reckoning had begun. And the voices once silenced had returned. The courtroom hung in a charged silence as Janet Jackson exited the witness stand. No applause rang out, but something deeper had shifted, something that couldn't be dismissed or contained. Moments later, a soft click drew attention. The security guard opened a white envelope left on the defense table. Inside, a slim flash drive. Diddy's attorney froze. Murmurs rippled through the gallery, but judge nodded toward prosecution. Counsel, the lead attorney stood, face steeled. Your Honor, this is Exhibit 47 Doe's Drive. It contains years of internal communication, voicemails, scheduling files, maps of party logistics, encrypted footage, timestamps. It's systemic, not anecdotal. She paused. It ties together testimony from multiple witnesses, Jay-Z, Chris Brown, Ice Cube, Janet Jackson. It demonstrates a coordinated pattern: surveillance, silence, coercion. The courtroom shifted as she continued. The sum total, this isn't one man's behavior. This is a machine, Diddy's team protested. The defense attorney raised his voice, eyes scanning the courtroom, but no one responded. The jury's faces were taut, resolute. The witnesses had spoken. The evidence spoke back. Behind the bench, the judge glanced down at the docket. We will take a short recess, he said. When we return, we will determine admissibility. The gavel struck soft yet final. Outside, media cameras whirred. Inside, the moment crackled. Secrets had been unleashed. Silence shattered. The power structure exposed. With Exhibit 47 The narrative had shifted irrevocably from allegation to undeniable evidence. Though no one spoke as the jury filed out, no one needed to. The walls of protection were crumbling, and the reckoning had only just begun. The courtroom buzzed with tension as the jury exited. All eyes remained on the defense table. The slim flash drive Exhibit 47 sat, visibly in a clear evidence bag. Its presence a silent verdict of its own. The media's shutters clicked incessantly, capturing every visible emotion. A hush fell when the bailiff announced the jury would deliberate tomorrow. The gallery leaned forward, wanting clarity, resolution, closure, but the judge's voice shattered that hope. Before we resume, both parties will present arguments on the admissibility of Exhibit 47. Court is adjourned until Monday morning. Reporters scribbled frantically. The defense attorney gathered his papers in slow motion, jaw clenched. The prosecution huddled around the drive, strategizing. And in the center of it all, Diddy remained impassive, yet not untouched. Just beyond the courtroom, whispers swelled. They've got him now. That's the smoking gun. Game over. Streetcars, news vans, and courthouse doors collided in a symphony of anticipation. Legal analysts spoke quietly among themselves, debating Exhibit 47's contents, its voicemails, encrypted logs, and coordination memos, calling it the connective tissue of the prosecution's case. As evening shadows lengthened, the courthouse emptied. The day's drama hadn't concluded, it had merely paused. But one thing was undeniable. Exhibit 47 was more than evidence. It was the linchpin that transformed whispers into proof, rumors into records, accusations into momentous revelations. The system Jay-Z, Chris Brown, Ice Cube band, now Janet Jackson spoke of, was no longer hidden. It was exposure. It was unraveling. And come Monday, it would demand accountability. Outside, the city thrummed with anticipation. Courts weren't supposed to feel cinematic, but today, this courtroom did. The weight of those electronic bytes, neatly labeled Exhibit 47, hung in the air like the base of a final verdict about to fall. The machinery of justice had been set in motion, and with Exhibit 47 unsealed, the power structure was on borrowed time. The hush deepened as the heavy wooden doors closed behind the departing jury. The courtroom remained charged, each heartbeat echoing the weight of what lay ahead. Monday couldn't come fast enough, but even as the weekend stretched before them, Exhibit 47 hovered over every whispered conversation, every speculation, every pulse of anticipation. Outside, reporters gathered under flickering courthouse lights. Legal analysts debated the exhibit's contents, encrypted logs that hinted at clandestine communications, voicemails dripping with veiled threats, memos coordinating private gatherings. Word was circulating. This wasn't just a smoking gun, it was the ignition for a legal inferno. On the defense side, strategists pored over redaction requests and privileging claims. Could they suppress the drive, discredit its origin? Time was against them. Exhibit 47 had already been glimpsed, its presence known. In the gallery, a woman quietly wept. Others remained motionless, shaken by the documents, not just for what they revealed, but for what they represented. Proof that power had been weaponized, secrets bottled, and silence bought. As security escorted the evidence bags from the room, cameras captured the moment. The drive, tiny and unassuming, became colossal in meaning. It was no longer just data, it was a public reckoning. And as the city outside braced for the storm, the world knew, when Exhibit 47 was opened on Monday, every thread would unravel. The trial wasn't paused, it was pregnant with promise. Monday would be a reckoning. Monday arrived with the weight of inevitability. The courtroom was packed elbow to elbow, spectators quiet, the judge's bench flanked by tension. Exhibit 47 was now front and center, placed reverently on the evidence table. What began as rumors and testimonies had transformed into documented proof, timestamped, encrypted, unshakable. The judge entered, robe sweeping, and called court to order. All rise. He glanced down at the bench and then to the gallery. After reviewing Exhibit 47 and hearing arguments from both parties, he said, "The court finds the evidence admissible." A collective gasp rippled across the room. The defense stood paralyzed. The prosecution nodded in grim acknowledgement, and Diddy for the first time looked down, not with strategy, but with realization. The bailiff connected the flash drive to the courtroom's monitor. Screens flickered. The footage began. It was all their names, contracts, footage, a ledger of transactions, whispers caught on hidden microphones, a network of manipulation exposed in high definition. Jurors stared, unblinking. Some flinched. The judge's brow furrowed. Diddy's own attorneys looked away. 7 minutes later, the courtroom sat in silence, deeper than before. Not the silence of mystery, but of reckoning. The veil had been lifted. The truth had arrived, pixel by pixel, file by file. Chris Brown's words, Ice Cube's fire, Janet Jackson's clarity. It all aligned. The judge leaned forward. The court will reconvene tomorrow for final testimony. Jury deliberations will follow immediately. He struck the gavel, once final resolute. As people poured into the streets, The verdict wasn't official, but everyone already knew. The empire had fallen, truth had won.